All right, well, hey everyone, and welcome back to the show. It is Wednesday, and this is Be a Warrior podcast. So, I am excited that we're midsummer. It is getting warm here, but that's okay. We didn't move to Arizona for the cold temperatures. And, you start to adapt. In about a month, we'll probably be starting to wish we were adapting to the cold weather, but right now, it's not so bad. See, last week I talked about staying motivated, and I find it really, really ironic. I have been really hitting the streets, getting out, meeting people. If you can't imagine, I am kind of a social person. I would have told you in high school I was an introvert that liked playing sports and just to myself, but that greatly shifted as I got older. And lately, I don't know if it's just because of this competition I'm doing for Muscle and Fitness Hers magazine or what it is, but I have definitely been intentionally meeting more people, being more social, more present on social media, and therefore I'm out there more, seeing people more, hearing about people more. And what I have noticed is a huge influx of my friends and my acquaintances knowing people that just went through amputation or about to go through amputation. It blows my mind. I went from 5.5 years ago knowing nobody that was an amputee, never living around them, never being around them, not really seeing anybody except occasionally maybe in a store here and there. Definitely none growing up, to I feel like in the last couple months, I must have had 4 or 5 people that I personally know say that they know someone going through it. And here's where I'm at with everything. I do this podcast because I really want to give back to our community, but also to share what I would hope people think is a positive, active mindset. I want to live healthy. I want to live long. I want to use my journey to assist others. And I believe that is what is meant to be, because I have truly been blessed with this journey. Most people probably wouldn't say that about their amputation, but I do feel blessed. And if I feel that way, then I'm probably meant to share it. So that is why I do the podcast. It is definitely not because I'm a professional at this, or a professional podcaster, or a professional amputee. I just live my life, and I will tell you, like I say, anytime I tell you what I've gone through or how I handled something, that is my personal journey. And so whatever you might be going through, take that with a grain of salt. I will never tell you that this is the only way, it'll never happen, this is always how it is. Nevers and always are horrible comments anytime in life, but they definitely don't hold water with amputees. What works for one will not work for another to deal with phantom pain, fitting, prosthetist, physical therapy, etc. So know that when I speak from my personal experience. I will tell you what I have tried. And like I said probably a couple weeks ago, put that in your own mental toolbox for future reference in case you ever feel like you're in a place where you don't have enough experience and you need what other people have tried. But for sure, you have to find out what works for you in any situation. Now, with that being said, I shifted quickly on what I really wanted to talk about today, and it literally happened after meeting a lady at our post office. If you know anything about where I live, we do not have mailboxes at our houses. We do not even have mailboxes at the end of the street. We must go to our post office. Therefore, I say we live in Mayberry. It is wonderful. I do love it, and I'm embracing it because I am a social person. I love going to the post office. I know that my postman knows me. He tells me he's voting for me for my competition, and they know, my name. They know everything, and we can have small talk. It's a very small town, and I love it. I love it so much. Coming from the suburbs of Chicago and big cities, it's kind of fun to kind of be kind of recluse, but yet close knit. And our community is fabulous. We all surround each other. Of course, there's always that one or two that are not as close, but for the most part, our community really rallies around each other. We've had a lot of forest fires, or I should say brush fires here. We don't really have forests down here, but we've had a lot of fires. That's what I would say. This season already, and that it's been absolutely crazy. And we have, as a community and surrounding communities, have really rallied around each other, and that's been fantastic. Now, getting back to the post office, I met a lady today. Again, she wanted to help me with, I had huge boxes from the post office, and she just said, just so you know, my friend is going through amputation, or just went through amputation. She is now getting fitted, and she's going to PT soon. Any advice? And I'm like, well, that's not a 95-degree parking lot conversation for 5 seconds, but definitely give her my name and all the information and have her reach out to me. And I love that. I'm more than happy to talk with people. I love talking with people. You can DM me on social media, whatever it is, but please, if you have questions, for sure. But I started realizing that there is such an influx right now. It seems to be an influx of amputees, and I don't know why, or if it's just that my circle is broadening to that. But I thought, you know what? The reality is this. Most people don't understand what that first attempt at PT and fitting your prosthetic is like. And maybe we need to talk about that real quick. So I'm going to make this short and sweet, hopefully to the point, which for those of you that have followed me, you know that's almost impossible. I do like to talk. I don't know where that comes from. Probably my father. But yeah, here we go. First things first, you need to understand that amputation in itself, the act of being amputated, is scary. It takes a lot of mental strength. It takes a lot of emotional strength. And what I was told by my surgeon was, you might process things as if you lost your best friend. So the grieving process, right? Because you've always had your limb since the day you were born, and all of a sudden it's gone. And it's really, really weird. Like, humans weren't meant to see their limbs disappear. Like, that is just not natural. So there is a process to that. Now, for some people, like for me, it was a real quick process because my limb sucked and I was ready to get rid of it. So once you've gone through many years of surgeries and your limb being just dead weight, you want something more. So for me, it wasn't an issue of grieving, just acceptance, right? And then embracing the new image, embracing as a woman what it looks like to be beautiful or self-accepting. That's a tough one for a lot of people, especially I would say women, and now I'm speaking men. Because I'm a woman, I am speaking to what I know and what we see in society as what people view beautiful women looking like. And it's a different road for us to mentally grasp. So that being said, you move on now and you spend a couple months healing. And you have staples in the bottom of your limb and you have to go and get that removed. And once you've healed and you've gotten the green light, you go in to your prosthetist and he fits you with he fits you, but you don't get anything right away. He kind of sizes you up. My guy, everyone's different, but my guy did plaster, wrapped my leg in my liner, and then wrapped it in saran wrap, and then did plaster like he was casting me. So he casted my residual limb, was able to pull that right off, and then he takes that plaster mold, fills it with cement, and then peels off the plaster. And now he has my leg the way it's shaped and formed right now when I'm standing. He did standing. Some people use digital imagery for that, kind of like my kids saw when they were getting Invisalign. They could do, instead of putting that icky stuff in the trays in their mouth to get impressions of their teeth, they're now doing digitally. Some physicians are doing digital impressions of residual limbs as well. So it just depends. Each one's different. And once that is done, you kind of leave and you let them go to work, and they create what's called a test socket. And the test socket is, for me, it was clear. I think for most people it is clear. My guy told me that we do it clear so we can see where blood flow is being stopped, so you can see where your leg is red or white or pink, and where blood flow is and isn't. You can see where things are being folded, skin's being smashed, how things are hitting, where they're maybe not hitting. So the clearness of the plastic is great because it gives them immediate feedback once it's on my leg. And then once we figure that out, they make the final one, which is what I'm wearing right now. And when I say final one, it is really not the final one. And it isn't one and done. You get it and you put it on once he's got it ready for you, and you walk out and you're on your way and everything's great with life. You just gotta, realize that there might be some areas of life that are harder. It isn't that at all. At that point, your journey is just beginning. And this is where patience and understanding that it is a full-on journey, just like life, but we tend not to see that when a medical crisis happens. But you will then become, you're going to start going through different phases where, first off, you should be going to physical therapy. The only way to truly learn how your new leg works is by practicing the right way to walk and making sure your gait is aligned right. If it is not, then your sound side, hip, knee, ankle, foot, they can all start to crumble on you over time. So you don't want to have that weird, I call it the penguin waddle. When I'm really tired, I find myself getting lazy because all I'm doing is putting more pressure on that hip, my good hip, and swinging my leg, which puts pressure on my residual limb hip, and everything gets wonky. So form is very important. Where do you learn form? At physical therapy. And you want to find not just any physical therapist, someone who's actually worked with amputees. They have the right tools and they have the right knowledge to help you. And there aren't a lot of them, so you really need to search and you need to look for one. My physical therapist that I had for all the years of my surgeries told me, listen, I want to be able to be your therapist, but I can't because I don't have the tools or the understanding of this new life you're going to start leading. So find someone. If your doctor has someone that they want to use them. And that's exactly what I did. So I went to Touchtone Rehabilitation here in Phoenix, where it's only a few miles away from my prosthetist. They're good friends and they talk. And it's great because when I first started going there, my physical therapist was having to tweak my leg a little bit here and there because he noticed things were wrong with my gait that probably had to do with my way my leg was fitting. And there are different aspects to the leg. The way it's twisted into my socket could be twisted too far, not enough. My toe could be pointed out, pointed in. The pylon that's at my ankle, that puts my ankle into my leg, could be too long or too short. And then you have all these other issues that go with that. And only really your PT can see that because he's taking you through the rigors of walking. And then he takes you through stairs and he takes you through whatever he thinks you're ready to do. Strength training, flexibility, stretching, things like that. So PT is extremely important. But now, if you want to really know what happens, at this point now, you are working really, really hard. For me, I'm missing my knee and my ankle, so I'm working 4 times as hard as the average human with 2 legs just to walk, let alone anything else. If I go to the gym and work out, it takes me 4 times as much energy. I expend 4 times as much energy. I expend 4 times as much energy on the treadmill or getting around the gym or lifting weights, especially if I'm doing leg workout. So, and then for every limb or every joint you're missing, it's twice as much work. So if you're a BK, a below knee, you are expending twice as much energy as a normal person with 2 legs. So you have to understand that part. As an amputee, sometimes, I know I'm this way, I don't give myself grace. When I go hiking with my family, and it can be a really hard hike, I am trying to push myself hard because they usually want to follow me so that I can keep the pace. But then I think I'm not going fast enough for them. So I try to keep moving faster. And then I realized we did a really hard hike not too long ago. I kept checking my heart rate because I was like, okay, I'm working really hard here. I feel like I'm the only one really panting. And my heart rate was at like 160 to 170. which is huge. And so I finally said, okay, let's switch things up. Why don't you guys lead some? Because I did the first mile. I need you to lead some. And sure enough, I was starting to slow down and they were kind of clipping along. And I don't want them to ever feel bad, so I tried to keep up with them. But I regulated my heart rate, and that's important because I don't need to pass out on them because I'm going to be dead weight getting down the mountain with me hanging over someone's shoulder. So you got all that happening. Now, what ends up happening, the more PT you have and the more you're wearing your new limb, the more weight you're losing, more volume you're losing, and more, well, in the first 3 months, too, of waiting for the limb, you atrophied. So you now no longer have the strength or the tone. Your muscle's pretty much gone. Like, I can feel my femur bone. It's like skin, fat, femur bone. I mean, my bone is obvious. It's kind of creepy. It's kind of weird because your muscles have been built around it that you don't normally feel your femur. You feel the muscle that's in front of the femur or underneath the hamstrings there. Not mine. Mine, you can feel the bone. You can feel the end of the bone. You can feel it's weird. So you atrophy. I lost a ton of weight the first year and a half. And when all that is happening, guess what? Your socket isn't fitting you anymore. So you could be wearing it one day and the very next day after PT and moving around your house, it's not fitting anymore. So the first, I would say to be safe the first 2 to 3 years, you are on a very tedious journey. Not to make you feel bad, not to make you worry, but to make you know that this is normal. As normal, and I hate that word, but it's normal not to be fitting in your socket the very next day after a brand new socket is given to you. That is why most people, AKs, at least with my prosthetist, start with liners and socks. And the liners roll on your residual limb, and then it uses that suction push down into your socket to stay on. But when you're shrinking like that and your leg wants to fall off, you put on these socks that look like little caps that you roll onto your leg. And that fills in the space. There's 1 ply, 3 ply, 5 ply, 5 being thick. And so my process always said, when you get to about 15 ply, so 3 5s, if you can imagine 3 5s thick around your leg, if you're there, then it's time for a new socket. Insurance will pay for a new socket. But by the time you get to 15 ply, you don't feel like the leg is yours. It's not connected to you. It's not a part of you. It is a total disconnect. You don't trust it. It's scary. The trust thing is really gone. And so this goes round and round and round and round till your limb is what they call matures, your weight becomes stable, and your atrophying stops. And that's when some people will find that they are now getting into a different type of socket. Like for me, my guy said, we want you to get in skin fit. You're very active. You want to do things. This is the most intimate socket you can have, but it's not for everybody. So if you have a skin condition or you rub raw and you can get infections really easily, it's probably not one for you. I have not had, knock on wood, any of those kind of problems. Yes, I get some blisters. Yes, I get rashes, but I take my leg off at night, go, oh, that sucks. I take my shower, I go to bed the next morning. The bubbles might be there from my blisters, but I just put my leg back on and we triumph through because I'm not worried or concerned about anything else happening because that's not my history. Like I said, my journey is mine. Your journey is going to be a little different. So with me, I know me well enough to know. And because wearing my prosthetic every day is important to me, I figure out how to make it work. And a little bit of pain here, like the burning sensation of a blister or a rash, is doable for me. I can handle that kind of pain. So that is how the first couple of years is. And like I told the lady today, what's some good advice you can give her going into PT? Number one, it's scary. It is. It's going to be scary because it's new, it's uncertain. You haven't figured out how to trust this new thing on your leg that's not meant to be there, but is now a part of your life. You embrace that suck and you march through fear to get to the other side, and that takes baby steps. It really does. But learn to trust your leg takes time. And it takes wearing it. If you're not going to wear it, you're never going to trust it. That is me and my running blade. I have used it. I know what it does. And I know that inevitably, if I do a mile or 2 miles in my running blade, I'm eventually going to fall. And that sucks. It hurts. Pavement hurts. Hot pavement is really bad. And you rip up your hands and and not to mention the whole embarrassing aspect of falling on your face as an amputee in public. So I get the fear, I get the unknown, I get the risk, but the reward when you get to the other side of facing a fear is immense. It is getting back to life as you want it to be, as normal as possible. What your goals are to do A, B, and C. Well, you can't get there if you're in crutches or walkers or wheelchairs if you have lofty goals. Now, I do know people that is their position right now. And yeah, I know it's not where they want to be, but that is the hand dealt. And then you decide what your mindset will be from this. Are you going to be patient with it? Are you going to figure out what you can do, even though the hand you've been dealt isn't what you expected? Or when you see amputees on social media just doing their thing and doing amazing feats like these Paralympians do you compare yourself sitting in a wheelchair and not able to use your leg right now to them? Because that isn't really good. Actually, as I've said in the past, and I had a whole podcast on it, comparison is the thief of joy. And when you start to compare yourself to anybody but your own journey, you are going to fall short. Yeah, and if not, if you find someone that's worse off than you, then all you're doing is comparing yourself to something lesser than what you're capable of. And that person has to embrace their journey. So you stay in your lane. You do you. You set your goals on where you're at. If you are wheelchair bound right now because the leg can't fit because of certain pains or issues, I had a neuroma, so there was times when I was out of mind because of surgery. What can you do in the time that you have right now where you're at in life to set your mind to a place of good, of positive, and goal setting that is you're capable of hitting now? And when I say goal setting, of course, I don't mean, I brushed my teeth this morning. Well, that has nothing to do with you in a wheelchair. But maybe it's making dinner, even though you're in a wheelchair. Maybe it's getting that wheelchair in the kitchen, standing for short stints of time while you clean vegetables, cut them up, sit back down, rest, and do it again. And then to say that you set a beautiful table with food, you won that battle that day. And that is a good for you moment that will help you ride through the next day and the next challenge. So what do you expect when you go to PT, and what do you expect when you become an amputee? Well, one, throw out any expectations that you think you have and go with what you want to have happen. I'm a firm believer in manifestation of your own destiny. I believe in faith. I believe we are all where we're at for a purpose, but sometimes we're in the forest and we cannot see through it until we're already through it. But if you can embrace the knowledge that you are probably in something right now with a huge purpose or goal that has been set before you, you might be able to do more good in the midst of that. Plus, distract yourself from where you're at because you're not happy where you're at, and find yourself coming out in a great place on the other side when it's all said and done. And that takes experience, right? Like, even when I tell you how I handled PT or how I did this or I did that, that also comes from experience. When I handled my first huge bout of phantom pain, no matter what I expressed to people that I finally started knowing about it, or listening to people's rants about their phantom pain and what they did. I had to figure out my way through it. And with that experience, again, I tucked that in my toolbox because it comes up again and again and again. I've had 4 or 5 big bouts of phantom pain. I've had several minor bouts of phantom pain that have lasted just a day. And then phantom sensation is just every day, all day. But I can tell you till I'm blue in the face what it feels like, what I went through, how I dealt with it. But until you actually experience it, you won't know. But the advice I would definitely give someone that's brand new to this whole amputee world and getting into their prosthetic for the first time, going to PT for the first time, is stop, breathe, and throw out any misconceptions that are in your head right now, because that's what they will be. Anything that you think is going to be happening or how it will all come to fruition for you, throw that out and just ride this wave. Face that fear. The unknown is hard. I know it. And when I'm thinking of the people right now in my mind and my heart that I know are going to PT for the first time with their prosthetic on, it is a little unnerving. Most PT places that I have seen are very open, right? So then all of a sudden you're doing all this in front of people for the first time. And I am the queen of that one. First time I ever ran with my running blade was in the middle of about 20 people waiting on their friends or family members and people doing PT and PTs and interns. I was harnessed up with one of those harnesses through my legs and around me up on the ceiling that would run back and forth. And I was trying to get my momentum going, and I can laugh today. I laughed so hard. If you know Tom Cruise's movie Mission Impossible, when he comes down through the rafters in this secure place and all of a sudden they drop him and he goes flat like this and his nose is almost touching the ground, but he's flat. I literally was running, I tripped, but there wasn't a lot of space and I was heading right towards a treadmill. No one was on it. And I literally was doing that same thing right over the treadmill. I got stopped and fell right on top of the treadmill, right above it. And it was, oh my gosh, I just remember laughing so hard. I was so embarrassed because it was big. Like, I didn't go small, I went huge, kerfuffle there. And all I could do was laugh at myself, because you know what, buddies, if you can't laugh at yourself through this, it's going to be a very long journey. You're going to struggle, and life's too short to struggle with the unknown like this. And you know what? You've made it this far. You're a warrior. You're struggling, but you're going to get there. And without the struggle, you can't realize your potential. So you need to get through the struggle. You need to face the fears that are coming with it. Because if you don't, you're always going to be afraid of your leg. You're always going to be afraid of that next step, or doing stairs for the first time, or riding a ramp downhill with your leg. And all those things might not make sense to you now, but they will if you're in the midst of getting a PT. Just know that you are here for a reason. You have been put here, whether you like it or not. Embrace it. There is a message for you in this journey, and you never know. Like me, I would never have thought my karate kick in 2013 would lead me to talking to people and reassuring them that life will be okay after amputation. Never in a million years would I have thought that. Never in a million years would I have thought I have a podcast. So you know what? Embrace what has been put in front of you. This is your journey. No growing back the leg or the arm. Go for it. Go for it and go big with it, because you know what? You get to live this life once. And you know what? Yeah, you had a curveball. It's okay. Curveballs can make life interesting. And that is for sure what has happened for all of us that are going through this. So I thought I would make this a shorter one. Gosh darn it. I've been about 30 minutes again. Anyways, call to action. You have to know what my call to action is. Face your fears. You're a warrior. Face your fears one step at a time. And when I say to people, at baby steps, one step at a time, I literally mean that. Not figuratively, I mean literally. I do hikes that maybe if I looked at the hike itself, I don't know if I could do. But I can put one foot in front of the other, and I can take it at my pace and keep my breathing intact and my heart rate intact and step one over the other. It's not a race in life. It is about accomplishments. It's about setting goals and reaching those goals. And sometimes as an amputee, it literally is one step at a time. So you can do this. If you're heading to PT for the first time, get after it. Don't be afraid to try something new, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to tell them what things feel like. They don't know. Until you express to them and communicate clearly, they don't know your fears, your anxieties, your goals, your excitement, your pains. They don't know. So make sure you communicate well and just one step at a time. You've got this. I know you do. So you guys know I'm here. Let me know how things are going with your PT. I would love to hear about it. And if you have questions, please reach out to me. DM me on Instagram, Facebook. You can even write to me on the website. But please, let me know how things are going. And you know what? As always, be healthy, be happy, be you.